Good. Now, hello everybody, my name is Steve and I'll be your tour guide for this part of the tour. And the driver's name is Ray. And on behalf of MCA, we'd like to welcome you to the world famous Universal Studios Hollywood. You guys ready to have a fun day today? I hope so. I see a lot of fun things. Now I'd like to go over our safety rules quickly. First of all, there is no smoking on the tram. If you are smoking, please come out on the floor of this tram at this time. For any small children, please keep them towards the center of the row, away from the gates. Also, please remain seated while we're in motion, keeping your arms and legs inside the tram at all times. Also on the tour, we will experience some loud noises and some sudden tram movements. So you'll not only see the world of movie making, you also feel it. If you have any garbage, please don't throw it overboard. Just leave it on the floor of the tram. We'll pick it up later. If you have any emergency, we have emergency cord right down the center of the tram. Just give that a pull. Now I'm referring to my side of the tram, which is your right side, and the driver's side of the tram, which is your left side. For example, on my side of the tram, we have the world's largest theater complex. We have 18 movie theaters inside there with a combined total of over 6,000 seats. The Cineplex Odeon Cinemas. Now we started making movies here over 70 years ago. A guy by the name of Carl Lemley, he bought this area. It was a chicken ranch, and he turned it into a movie studio. We started doing countless silent films, and then we became famous for our monster classics. We did Dracula and Frankenstein. Now today we are known for such hits as E.T., Back to the Future, Jaws, Twins, and Out of Africa. Now if you have your cameras, get them ready. Loaded with film lens cap on. You have many picture taking opportunities. Now I'll be pointing these spots out to you. You can take as many pictures as you like as long as they're not for commercial use. Have your flash ready also. We'll be indoors as well as outdoors today. And you might want to start your picture taking off to my side of the tram. Nice view here of the San Fernando Valley. And down below is our backlot. Down there we have old western towns. We have Mexico, Europe, we even have ancient Rome. You'll recognize many of these sets from your favorite TV shows and movies. We'll go through Cabot Cove, Maine for Murder, She Wrote. We'll see old Chicago from the movie The Sting, starring Paul Newman and Robert Redford. We will also go by the Bates Motel from Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. And we just finished up doing Back to the Future 2. And you might get a chance to see that set a little later on in the tour. That stars again Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd. In the distance, you can see the Burbank Studios, the tan buildings back there. They're home to Warner Brothers and Columbia. Now we're doing a bunch of shows on our lot today, mostly TV shows. We're doing an episode of Quantum Leap. We're also doing the new Lassie. This dog Lassie is a 7th generation of the original Lassie. And even Timmy is going to be back. He'll be playing in a recurring role, playing Uncle Steve. We're also doing Matlock, Coach, as well as a new show, Adam 12, in the 90s. Now you might recognize the van over on my side of the tram from the A-Team. We have about 5 of those vans, just in case one breaks down or gets dented, and we always have another one handy. Now besides television and movies, we have live entertainment over on the driver's side. That's the Universal Amphitheater. We have such performers there as Frank Sinatra, Diana Ross. Dolly Parton was there recently. She's also in the movie Musical, and you'll see that set a little later on in the tour. We had comedians there like Eddie Murphy, Robin Williams, Billy Crystal. Stephen Wright will be there next month. Now, it looks like there's some kind of spacecraft in the road ahead. I don't know what's going on here. Maybe they're doing some filming. Get your... Blast us? Well, we're not going in no spaceship. We'll go around the outside here. We'll just ignore. We're going inside the spaceship. This is a Cylon battleship, and get your cameras ready, because we might need some photographic evidence if we make it out alive. TV movie Battlestar Galactica. Now, Battlestar Galactica is an excellent example of a production that we filmed almost entirely inside of a soundstage. And we'll be taking you inside some of our sound stages in just a few moments. You can see them off on my side of the tram. They are the tan buildings with the gray trim. We have 35 sound stages. They're numbered 1 to 44. Some of the numbers are omitted because of superstitious reasons. We have no number 7 or 13. Now, sound stages provide the ideal environment for filming because we have complete control over sound, weather, and lighting. They are 98% soundproof. Some of the old TV shows we've done here was the Jack Benny Show. Done Here's Lucy and the original Kojak. I want to get your cameras ready on my side of the tram, our first movie set. Now, you've seen this in Simon and Simon. It's What's on Fire? Now, don't worry, that's been burning for years and it hasn't burned out yet. The flames are real, powered by gas jets in the back. It's made out of non-combustible material. The black charred look you see, that's just black spray paint we put on. As we come around, you see no one's home anyway. It's just a facade. Facade's a French word meaning false front. We do all the interior filming inside our sound stages. Now, our actors used to start their day in this area in the wardrobe and makeup departments. As a courtesy to our producers working in the offices, I'll be off the microphone for a minute. We'll be exiting the tram. as you exit, please go over to the gray awning on the right here. You'll be joining that group over on the right. So please take all your belongings. You'll be boarding a new tram later, and enjoy the rest of your day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Motion picture, The Color Purple, which was a Warner Brothers production, produced and directed by Mr. Steven Spielberg. But presently we're using Stage 37 for a brand new game show entitled American Gladiators, and that will be airing this fall in September. Now, most motion pictures and television shows are done on film, but we're headed into an area that Universal calls their Videotape Complex. A good example of a videotape show is a sitcom, and they're very different from motion pictures. I'd like to tell you how. In a sitcom, the cast and crew rehearse for about a week long, and on the final day they perform it from start to finish, much like a stage play. The director is usually never on the set of a sitcom. He sits in trailers and he speaks to his cast and crew over monitors. Whereas in a feature film that can take up to 3 months or longer to complete, the director is always required to be on the set, and you really don't have to perform a motion picture in any specific sequence as you would a sitcom. Right over here on my side, this large building, number 480, is our state-of-the-art technical building. This building houses our mill, our special effects department, our plastering department, our electrical department, even our lumber yard. You name it, we have it inside of this building. Our third floor is where our production offices are located. That's where our scenic designers and art directors plan out what they want built. And when completed, they send those plans down to the bottom floor so they can get their sets, props, or cars constructed. In fact, the kit car from the series Knight Rider was made right here at our tech building, as well as many other picture cars. And as soon as we're done making those cars, we send them over to our transportation department, and that's the place where they maintain and dress up those cars for the shooting of a scene. And speaking of picture cars, coming up ahead of us on the driver's side, you'll see a gray Peugeot parked out here, and they'll be featured in the series Columbo, which stars Peter Falk. This brand new building on my side belongs to the Author Company. They're the newest independent production company here in Hollywood, and they're currently working on remakes of such classic TV shows as Adam 12, Dragnet, and they're the producers of The Munsters Today, which stars John Schuck and Lee Merriweather. As you take a look around here, folks, you'll notice that we are moving away from our front lot where all of our sound stages are located, and into the heart of Universal's back lot, where we only have facades. As we come through this area, you'll notice that you'll be able to look right through these sets onto the other side. That's because they're empty shells. What appears to be brick, stone, and glass is actually just foam rubber and fiberglass, or candy glass. We use these simulated materials because it would be virtually impossible to keep up the backlot area if we were to use the raw materials of brick, stone, and glass. We are heading down what we call New York Street here on our lot. We call it New York Street because we dressed it up to look like many different cities around the world. Was Seattle in the movie Harry and the Hendersons, which starred John Lithgow. Right down the street on the driver's side, where that was Old Chicago in the movie The Sting, which starred Paul Newman and Robert Redford. New York Street was Los Angeles in the movie Earthquake, and even London in many different episodes of Murder, She Wrote, which stars Angela Lansbury. Even Kansas City in City Heat. So as you can see, we've dressed up New York Street to look like many different cities around the world, simply by going to our prop warehouse and bringing out the appropriate props. But first, before we do that, we have to head over to our research department. And inside of our research department, we have lots of different encyclopedias and picture books and other aids to help us out in dressing up a set authentically. In the movie Back to the Future, it took us quite a long time to transform our set of Hill Valley to look like 1955. It took about 2 months of our crew's work outside in our backlot area. They had to use special aging processes on the buildings to make those buildings look a lot older than they were. And even down to the smallest license plate that they had on the cars, everything had to be authentic to the time period that we were depicting. In the backs of these sets, we store lots of lights that we use for nighttime shooting, as well as other props and picture cars. You're going to see props all over the Universal lot. We store them all over the place, not only inside of our warehouse. That's because we never throw anything out. We can always use it for another TV show or motion picture. Well, folks, right now we're about to take a trip into the future. That is, we're visiting Courthouse Square in the town of Hill Valley from the movie Back to the Future. Now, you may recognize this courthouse on the driver's side of the tram. That's where lightning struck back in 1955. Now, things may look a little bit different to you. That's because Hill Valley is dressed up for a sequel to Back to the Future Part 2. You may remember that in the middle of the Courthouse Square on the driver's side of the tram, there was a parking lot of the original Back to the Future. But in the year 2015, we built a pond to beautify the town. This Texaco Station on my side, you'll notice that it is elevated, and that's to accommodate all the flying cars in the future. The ramp that's built right onto the driver's side of the tram, that's an aerial skyway, the freeway for flying cars. Now, you'll be able to see the finished product in the movie Back to the Future Part 2, which stars Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd. They'll be out in a theater near you around Thanksgiving. And before Hill Valley was dressed up for Back to the Future Part 2, we've shot lots of different motion pictures in this area because usually when it's in its natural undecorated state, it's a perfect small town setting. For example, the Courthouse Square was in the movie Gremlins, which was a Warner Brothers production, and we used the courthouse right over there in To Kill a Mockingbird with Gregory Peck. On this part of the back lot, Touchstone Pictures was just here at Universal Studios, and they wrapped up production of a movie called Dick Tracy, which will star Warren Beatty and Madonna. Warren Beatty is starring in that motion picture and also directing it. And there'll be lots of guest star appearances from stars like Faye Dunaway, Janet Jackson, Jack Nicholson, Tom Cruise. You'll be seeing all of those stars in that upcoming motion picture. Sometimes, folks, it is very necessary to build an entire exterior set or facade like you see out here inside of an actual working soundstage. And that's where we're taking you right now. So if you get your cameras ready with your flashes, I think you're all going to be in for a big surprise.
Causing thousands of bleeders. Police admit they are not.
weighs a whopping 13,000 pounds, 600 which is just his body hair. Now, King Kong first made his movie debut back in 1933 opposite Fay Wray, and the model that was used in that motion picture was only 18 inches tall. He made a comeback, though, in 1976 opposite Jessica Lange, and since then, Jessica has become a very famous actress-producer, and she has some production offices right here in the Universal lot, as well as Don Johnson, Steve Martin, Madonna, and Mr. Robert Redford. So far on the tour, you visited lots of different sets that have been standing on the lot for quite a long time. But one thing you can surely call a landmark here in the studio is our famous bridge. You'll be passing right by it. You'll get a great picture on my side of the tram. Can you believe it's been standing since 1915? It's a long time for a bridge to be standing. We used to take the trams over the bridge, though, but as you come up by it, you'll see that it's in really no condition to hold us. So I think Malcolm and I are just going to take the road around the bridge to be on the safe side. Uh-oh, did you just see that beam fall? I just saw the beam fall off the bridge. I better tell somebody about this. This doesn't look too good. Oh, it sounds terrible. Well, nothing to fear, folks. We won't be taking the bridge today. But wait a minute. The road is blocked. How are we supposed to get around? Oh, no. Looks like we're going to have to take the bridge. We don't have a choice. Oh, it sure sounds rickety up here. But try to look on the bright side. You get some nice pictures right over here on my side of the tram. You have a view of San Fernando Valley and the very tops of the sets we just visited down on New York Street. The first and second car made it. Oh no! That bridge collapsed on you too. Oh, here comes the fourth car. That's the important part. We all got it over the bridge. Now, I kind of told you a fib back there to frighten you. This bridge wasn't built in 1915, although it looks like it was. It was just constructed in the 1970s. It works by a hydraulic system, and as you come around the front, you may be able to catch a glimpse of this bridge reconstructing itself. We shot TV shows here like The Bionic Woman with Lindsay Wagner and The $6 Million Man, which starred Lee Majors. And there she goes. We're approaching an area that we call Plaza. This will be a brief rest stop on your tour. Plan on spending about 15-20 minutes here. You get some great pictures in front of the Magnum PI Ferrari, the Mouse Volkswagen from Uncle Buck, and you can test your strength against one of our A-Team vans. We have lots of large props here from the Land of the Giants television series, as well as the Incredible Shrinking Man and the Incredible Shrinking Woman. You can grab an ice-cold beer or soda, and even pick up a bite to eat at one of our snack bars. Now remember, folks, this is just a rest stop for about 15 or 20 minutes. When you're ready to reboard the next available tram, you simply follow the signs from the upper level, where we're dropping you off at right now, down to the lower level, and you'll be boarding a brand new tram with a new tour guide. So make sure to gather all of your personal belongings together. Have a great day here, everybody. Have a good time.
Skal I trække det i mig? Hvorfor er det?
I'll see you immediately.
Ready?
This is a great Edward Bell starring John Kennedy. Ready? Start with the 18 men at this well.
Vas-y, mais il y avait une trame derrière, c'est moche.
Put your hand on his shoulder, Emmett.
Watch the pictures, thank you. Okay, walk around the
Right here.
You guys want something? Here?
this side. Reach up, pull on the emergency cords located down the center of the tram and we'll stop for you as soon as it is safe to do so. We call this area Pine Tree Road. Imagine Maximilian Schell skiing down this road. Well, this is what he did for the filming of Counterpoint. They put roller skates on the bottom of his skis, they covered the embankment here with white ground cloth, and they covered the street with movie snow, which is made out of polyethylene plastic. And it's your basic dry cleaning bag material. They pounded it to a nice white color, cut it up into fine shavings, and laid it out nice and smoothly over the road. And he came roller skating down. Movie snow is one way of creating a special effect. For those of you who saw Gremlins, or might remember that Warner Brothers film, the Steven Spielberg production, that was filmed entirely inside of Courthouse Square, where you saw the set for Back to the Future Part 2. Well, for that movie, it was set in the winter season, and so we wouldn't have to do an extensive location shot. They just winterized the area. It was actually shot during a late spring and early summer during a heat wave, so those actors were wearing very, very heavy costuming during 90-degree weather, and having to play act as if they were really cold. So movie snow is just one of the ways of creating a special effect, such as fog, wind, rain, fire. They can all be created by different means. Fire, as you saw by the burning house, is created by gas jets. We attach them to any non-flammable or non-combustible material. Well, they can turn the flames on and the material itself won't burn, but it looks as though they are in flames. We can create fog by taking dry ice and pouring over hot oil onto the ice. The oil then condenses and it becomes very thick, and we can blow it out to certain areas. We usually do this inside of a sound stage because we can better control the elements themselves. We can create rain by taking sprinkler piping and attaching the sprinklers to the trees or to the sides of the buildings and shoot them up the tops of the buildings. The water is shot upward and will come down naturally like rainwater would. We can create wind effects by taking large airplane propellers. We put them in machinery. We can control the speed of the wind by controlling the speed of the propeller themselves.
That plane is going up in there.
This area is what we call the Appian Way. Thousands of Roman soldiers marched down this hill in the filming of Spartacus. They weren't actually Roman soldiers, they were Los Angeles college students. And because there were so many of them, we lined them up single file and spray painted their body makeup on them. We're now heading into Old Mexico. Simon television series was shot quite a bit here on this part of our backlot. When we were at Plaza, there told me there'd be a 50-50 chance of rain. Oh, now I see what they meant. Over on the driver's side, it is raining. On my side, it is still nice and dry. Hence the 50-50 chance of rain. I do know that when it rains in this area, there are chances of flash flooding. So you might want to pick up all your personal belongings just in case you get a little bit wet. Name your cameras to the hill. You never know what may be coming your way. This part of Old Mexico was used in Three Amigos, starring Chevy Chase, Steve Martin, and Martin Short. And over here on the driver's side of the tram is the Alamo. See, there's no basement in the Alamo. We can also turn this into many different areas. This was Masada, or this was ancient Jerusalem, and the filming of the miniseries Masada. Over here on my side of the tram, this livery stable, we keep live stock in here when we need it for filming. But this was built back in 1940 for My Little Chickadee that starred Mae West and W.C. Fields. That shop right next to it says Rob's Tailors on it. That was Miss Seeley's exotic pant shop, and Warner Brothers The Color Purple. We call this area 6 Points, Texas, because there are 6 separate streets that all emerge into this one central point. Back in the silent days, it was possible to film 6 silent westerns here at one time. And we can actually shoot many different locales here because each street is set up to look like its own town with its own sheriff's office, saloon, and bank. So all we have to do is move the cameras from street to street and then you've got a new town. Right now it's dressed to look like a more modern Midwestern town, but to make it look like the authentic Old West, all you have to do is cover the asphalt here with dirt and gravel, cover the cement sidewalks with wooden planks, put up a couple of hitching posts, tie up some horses, put our actors in period costume, and here you've got the Old West. Back in the silent days, we did film quite extensive. We've done a lot of different things here. This is actually the most photographed spot in the world because of all the filming that has been done here over the decades. These are what we call practical sets. We can also do interior shots inside of these buildings. We don't use them for that anymore. We just use them for storage now. But if we need to, we can do interior shots. Right now it's just easier to build an interior inside of a soundstage because these buildings are older. A week ago Saturday night they had a big celebrity benefit. Here it was a hoedown Western barbecue. Michael J. Fox was the chairman and William Shatner and a lot of big stars were here in this particular area for the benefit. Again, we can dress this area to look like many different things. In an ABC movie of the week last year, this was Chinatown. Notice this large church directly ahead of us. Well, this is known to house the world's smallest congregation. If you take a look around the back, you can see why. You open the doors and you can practically hit the back of the church. Large tank on the driver's side is how we would do underwater filming. We would fill this tank with water, dress the insides, put our actors inside, we could lift the paneling, put our cameras and crew up next to the windows. And we could do underwater scenes such as we did for Dragnet, that starred Tom Hanks and Dan Aykroyd. Over here on my side of the tram, you'll see what you probably think is a lot of junk. Well, we never throw anything away here at Universal Studios because we never know when we're going to use it again. These Army vehicles were all used in Gregory Peck's MacArthur back in the 1970s. That large rooster was part of a weather vane that was used in The Incredible Shrinking Woman that starred Lily Tomlin. This riverboat is built onto the lake bed below. It is just a facade, as you can see from the angle that you're looking at right now. But as we come around the front, you would see the angle that the camera would see. It was built back in 1953 for Mississippi Gambler, that side Tyrone Power. It was also used in a series that was entitled Riverboat back in the early 60s. It starred Darren McGavin and a then unknown actor stuntman, who from time to time he was told to fall off the top of this boat into the lake below. For some reason, the director didn't like the way he was doing it. He would either fall too far to the left, too far to the right, too far outside. I don't know what it was, but each time he'd have to climb back out, dry himself off, get up, do makeup, new costuming, wardrobe, everything, come back and reshoot the scene. Well, after a number of takes, he finally asked the director to climb up top with him. He says, "Why don't you just show me exactly where you want me to fall?" And he finally, when he got the director up, he says, "No, I'm really tired of this. Why don't you just do it yourself?" And he pushed the director into the lake. Well, the actor got fired on the spot. The director told him he was being let go because he was a bad actor, not because he was just obnoxious. But he told him, he says, "I swear that you'll never work in Hollywood again." Well, the actor's name was Burt Reynolds, and nobody remembers the name of the director. Well, the same day that Burt Reynolds was being let go, he was out walking along the lot into the parking lot, and he ran into an old buddy of his who was also being let go that same day. This actor was told that he was being released because his Adam's apple was too large. In essence, he was told he was too ugly to be a leading man in Hollywood. Well, anyway, Burt Reynolds starts laughing at the other guy. He says, "You know, I can always take acting lessons, but you're always going to have that Adam's apple." The other man's name was Clint Eastwood. And if you remember some of his earlier films, you might know that he wears a scarf around his neck to conceal his Adam's apple. Well, this is the entire Pacific Ocean for the McHale's Navy cast and crew. You can see some of the miniatures on the driver's side. Legend has it they've left some underwater mines in the area. Oh, there's one now. We're now coming upon the Red Sea. This is inspired by Cecil B. DeMille's famous films. We don't have Moses here to part the seas for it, so I'll give you folks the power. On the count of 3, I want you to say, part the waters, and they will go. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. There they go. On the other side of the Red Sea, you'll notice the ark that was used in Fletch Lives, starring Chevy Chase. The island area was also used in the made-for-TV movies based on the hit television series Gilligan's Island. The original effect of parting the waters was done back in the silent version in the 20s by taking a frozen block of Jell-O, cutting it in half, and by using gas torches melting it back together. The film footage was then reversed. In the more famous version that starred Charlton Heston and Yul Brynner, they took 10,000 extras and they filmed them walking along a dirt road. They then combined this with traveling matte paintings. So the Red Sea you saw parting there was almost like a cartoon. As we pass through here, please keep your arms and legs inside. Remain seated, and you might want to aim your cameras at the lake. You'll get a great sea level shot. And keep an eye out for those mines. You never know when one's going to pop up. Side of the tram, you see the famous home to the creature from the Black Lagoon. Rico Browning won the part as the creature because he's able to hold his breath for large amounts of time underwater. And that little house up on the hill was used in Weird Science that starred Anthony Michael Hall and Kelly LeBrock. This island area is known as the island of Bora Bora. It was used in the television series Tales of the Gold Monkey. That starred Stephen Collins. This area on my side of the tram is what's left of the original Tarzan's jungle, back in the silent days. There's not much to it now, but there wasn't a lot then. And you can see some of the trees still are on platforms, that way we can move them around a little bit easier. This area over here on Mark's side of the tram is what we call New Park. It was designed by a computer, and from 150 different camera angles, this can appear to be 150 different parks. This can be New York Central Park. One of Alfred Hitchcock's favorite tricks was to place styrofoam tombstones down on this park and turn it into a cemetery. Legend has it that he would place the names of critics on these tombstones that had ripped on his movies. So he turned around and ripped on them. On the other side, on my side of the tram, is Park Avenue. Doesn't look like a very ritzy neighborhood right now, but it's right now, it's undressed. We call our decorators in there, and they give it a fresh coat of paint, put up some awnings, some red carpets, maybe some curtains in the windows, a doormat, a limousine. There you got the most expensive neighborhood in the world. We're now going to take you to a, I don't know what I'm trying to say. We're going to take you into the past, okay? Back about 3,000 years as we enter Spartacus Square in ancient Rome. That was a lighthearted movie musical that came out in 1967 that starred Mary Tyler Moore, Julie Andrews, and Carol Channing. This building just up ahead on my side, it can be any embassy in the world simply by changing the front of it, changing the language on the signs, and putting up that country's flag. Again, these buildings are not dressed. We don't maintain them while we're not using them for shooting. If you saw Cloak and Dagger, that starred Dabney Coleman and Henry Thomas. Dabney Coleman parachuted into this embassy area here. You'll notice the buildings on my side of the tram are rather new looking compared to the ones over here. Excuse me, these are new on the driver's side compared to the ones on my side. Well, you might recall that Universal Studios had a fire about 2 years ago. These buildings were all destroyed and had to be redone. We had another more extensive fire back in the...
Film? Was it?
was I? Oh, fire, right. We had a more extensive fire back in the 1960s, and all of Europe here, all these buildings around you, were destroyed. So before we called our fire departments, we called our film crews, and now we have stock footage of a European town or European cities in flames whenever we need it. This could be any European town or country simply by changing the names on the signs. You'll notice that these, I believe, are Italian over here on the driver's side, and some of the writing over on my side is in Russian. Fred Savage, the young star of the Wonder Years and Bow Bridges, were here last month filming a new feature for Universal. It's entitled The Wizard. These cobblestones down below you are not real, but they are one way of giving this a European touch. We simply called the dressers in here when the cement was wet, and they placed molds into the cement to give it this cobblestone effect. This area over here on my side of the tram is the oldest, or one of the oldest here on the Universal backlot. It was built back in 1919 for Lon Chaney's The Miracle Man. And many famous monster movies have made appearances over here. Do you recognize this music? Anyone? It's from Dracula. Dracula was roaming through this courtyard, as did Frankenstein's monster, who made his appearance through that archway over there. The Mummy, the Invisible Man, the Phantom of the Opera, the Wolf Man were all roaming through these streets back in the 1930s. The Court of Miracles has also been used for many different things. ABC Circle Television's films did a production of Moonlighting here. It was the takeoff of the famous Shakespearean Taming of the Shrew. It was entitled Atomic Shakespeare, and that was filmed right here inside the Court of Miracles. Bela Lugosi, who portrayed the original Dracula, was offered the part of Frankenstein, but he turned it down because he didn't feel the makeup was very flattering. And then again, there weren't a lot of lines in the movie. You might remember that Frankenstein's monster did a lot of grunting and groaning. So the part went to a lesser-known actor by the name of William Henry Pratt, who later changed his name to Boris Karloff, so it appeared more gothic up against the movie marquee. And Karloff had to spend about 6 hours a day in makeup and costuming because it was so tedious. The man was called upon to do the makeup. His name was Jack Pierce, and he had to improvise, come up with something that would be true to Mary Shelley's novel. Well, in her novel, she never really goes into great depths about what the Frankenstein monster appears to look like. So, Pierce had to improvise. He discovered there were 6 different ways to perform a lobotomy or to do brain surgery. And since Dr. Frankenstein was more of a scientist and not a practicing surgeon, Pierce thought that he would choose the easiest way, which was simply to cut open the top of the head, open it up like a pot, play with his brain. He could shove it back down, clap it on either side, and stitch it. That's why Frankenstein's monster had the flat top. The electrodes on the side of his neck were simply to spark him to life. His hands and feet were so large because, as you may recall, he was made from the body parts of executed criminals who were put to death in those days by binding them hand and foot and burying them alive in a shallow grave. This would cause the blood to rush to their extremities. Okay, makeup is just one of the ways of doing a special effect. Well, if you'll indulge me for just a second, I'm going to be off the tram. I'm going to show you another special effect. I'll be over here on my side.
It bounces. It's made out of things of styrofoam.
Those are the same type boulders that Lee Majors was able to throw at the $6 million man. They're made out of a very lightweight styrofoam material. They are hard to get a grip on because they're so bulky, but again, they don't weigh much. this machine over here on the driver's side of the jungle is this big metal contraption. This is another machine that is used to create special effects. This is what we call a gimbal. Now what it is, it's built on a set of hydraulics, and all it does is rock back and forth. Well, we built a miniature of Los Angeles onto this gimbal, and we had the cameras and crew set up on top, and as the machine would start rocking, the miniature would crumble. And so that's how we created the earthquake, or we destroyed the city of Los Angeles in the filming of Earthquake. We then combined this with live footage, or footage that was shot on our New York street. We had the cameras shaking, we had extras running along the street, and we had large pieces of debris that were being tossed from the tops of the buildings, so it looked like it made it appear as though the buildings around these people running were also crumbling. And then they just combined the footage of the two. Well, the next time you watch that movie, take a good look at the earthquake sequence, and there are people running along the streets. There's one woman in particular that's not paying much attention to what she's doing. The director had told them that if they were hit with a piece of debris at any time, they were to fall down and play dead because the stuff was heavy enough to kill them. Well, this one girl is just running along in sheer pandemonium, and a large piece of debris, much like the size of these rocks over here, hits her in the head, and she simply brushes it off, and she keeps running. So that's an example of a blooper, and these sometimes can get by the editor's eyes, and they make very interesting conversation afterward. What we're waiting for right now is clearance to go into this very special soundstage just up ahead. This is what we call a hot set. The address is still by the San Francisco subway station. Right now the crews are doing exterior location stops in San Francisco. And nothing to worry about, folks. Just one of those flying California cameras. Stay calm, remain in your seats. We'll all be fine. Anyway, on the Richter scale. That's the same level quake that totally destroyed San Francisco back in 1906. You have a nice swim. This part of the Old West was used extensively during John Wayne's famous days here at Universal Studios. We have named one of the side roads after the late great actor. Well, we're now entering the small, quiet New England town of Amity, where strange things have been known to be lurking in the local waters. We don't allow any swimming or fishing on this lake just a bit because some say it is shark infested. Uh-oh, you're in trouble, buddy. I suggest you get it. Looks like he's after us. Wait a minute. Yeah, he's coming for the first car. No, looks like he's going after George. Hey, you better get out of there.
Bye, George.
This little yellow blue gas put out on the lake here on my side. We have bait attached to the end of it. And the other, oh, he took the bait. He took the beer. does spit. Oh, here comes George. Take a good look around you. This is Cabot Cove, Maine, every week on the hit series Murder, She Wrote. These boats that you do see on the lake were actually used in the filming of Jaws. But they were... For those of you who saw the movie, you will remember the first girl that got gobbled up. She was out skinny dipping on the ocean. Well, to create the shark attack, they had her attached to a harness, and down beneath her were 3 scuba divers that were supposed to pull on her at different times. And, well, for some reason they got their signals crossed. They all pulled at once. And in doing so, they broke 3 of her ribs. Well, Spielberg liked the look of anguish on her face, so he used it in the movie. So that look of shock you saw was real. And she wasn't saying, help, help, help. Just up ahead, we have another famous neighborhood. It's over here on the driver's side of the tram. This was used in 1961 for Gregory Peck's To Kill a Mockingbird, his Oscar-winning performance as small-town lawyer Addison Quayle. No relation to the vice president. We have another famous set over here on my side. So you can guess what it is. This is Miss Mona's Chicken Match, better known as the Festival Whorehouse in Texas. The Chicken Match is built like a dollhouse. It's another practical set. We can do interior shots as well. We can just unhinge it, open it up down the middle, and do bedroom scenes or stairwell scenes whenever we need to. We have some more famous houses over here on the driver's side of the tram. The greenhouse with the white trim, that's Kamala Sue Martin's house in the Nancy Drew Mysteries. The gold house with the white trim, that's Andy Griffith's home every week on Matlock. And the brown house with the brown trim, well, that's the house of 7 gables. This is our wilderness area. We purposely do this in a natural, undressed state. That way, whenever the script calls for it, we've got a nice wooded outback, or we have a mountainside, a remote mountainside, or even if you aim the cameras just right, we've even got a tropical rainforest. This is also appear to be very gloomy and dreary at night. Picture yourself driving up this road alone on a rainy night. You're tired, you want a place to stay. Well, here in Universal City, we've got the Universal Sheraton. We have the Los Angeles Registry Hotel. And we have a smaller motel, 12 rooms, 12 vacancies. You can check in, but you don't check out. Have your cameras ready now, because coming up on the driver's side is the most famous set still standing in Hollywood. The famous Psycho House just down below, the Bates Motel, where the curator was Norman Bates. We have a nickname for that little road that leads up to the Psycho House there. We call it the Psychopath. Janet Leigh, who portrayed the character Marion Crane, got a little bit more than she bargained for in that famous film. That shower sequence, although it was only 45 seconds of footage on film, it took 1 week to shoot because Hitchcock wanted about 75 different camera angles. Well, legend has it, in the final shoot, when he was doing the close-up of her face, he played a little trick on her. He had his associates replace the warm water that she'd been working with all week with an ice cold blast of ice water. So the look of shock would be authentic. The blood that you saw in that famous shower scene was really chocolate syrup, because movie blood doesn't photograph too well in black and white. Another famous set over here on the driver's side. This is the cabin that was used in The Great Outdoors, that film that starred John Candy and Dan Aykroyd. This is one of 2 sets that was built for that movie. The other one is on location in Washington. Oh look, there's nobody. Over here on my side of the tram, this lake was also used in The Great Outdoors, but it was built for an entirely different movie. Most of Jaws: The Revenge, that starred Lorraine Gary and Michael Caine, was filmed on location in the Bahamas. But for the exciting shark attack sequences, they brought the Bahamas here to our backyard. They painted that backdrop to match the Bohemian sky, and they dyed the water as a nice Bohemian blue. That large black contraption is a wave machine. And that set they're building over there on the left next to the lake is going to be used for the new television series The Outsiders, based on that hit movie that starred a lot of the Brat Packers. This is the highest point of our backlot, where the roads are slick and treacherous with movie snow and ice. This area was the entire Antarctic for John Carpenter's The Thing. And was also Vietnam for Heroes, that film starred Sally Field and Henry Winkler. We're going to have to take you to the ice tunnel now, where the slightest noise has been known to cause an avalanche. So we'll have to be quiet as we go through here. In case of avalanche, though, if you feel yourselves getting a little bit dizzy, just close your eyes and hang on. Let's go the other way. Survived another innovative special effect. That illusion was created by the tunnel itself. The tram stayed perfectly level the whole time. Well, if the tunnel got to you, though, don't feel bad. It also got to Lee Majors during the filming of The $6 Million Man. In one of the episodes, he was supposed to run the length of that tunnel, but they had to reshoot the scene a number of times because he kept falling down. That's why they named this next series The Fall Guy. Over here on my side of the tram, you get one last view of our Universal backlot, the beautiful San Fernando Valley beyond. Burbank Studios, home to Columbia and Warner Brothers. Paramount is right beyond there, as in NBC Studios. And this is pretty much the same view that E.T. saw when he landed here on Earth. Now, E.T. is just one of the examples of fine movie-making magic. We're now going to be taking you back up to our entertainment center, where you can experience more movie-making magic with our 5 live shows and adventures. There's a Star Trek adventure where you can meet aboard the Starship Enterprise with Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock. This is an actual audience participation show, so if you'd like to be a part of that show, I suggest you get there about 30 minutes before the show is scheduled to begin, and they select people to participate. There's the Miami Vice Action Spectacular, where you can see 50 stunts in 15 minutes. The Animal Actor Stage, we might get a glimpse of Lassie or a breakdancing chimpanzee. We've also got the Western Stunt Show. And the Adventures of Conan, the Sword and Sorcery Spectacular, where you come face-to-face with an 18-foot fire-breathing dragon. Back inside of our entertainment center, we also have a number of wonderful restaurants. There's Tony Roma's for ribs.
Hotel.